the truth awaits in the dark. True story.
Imagine you are driving home with four of your best friends.
Best night ever.
You've just finished watching a basketball game. The mood is happy. The heater in your car is working perfectly. The gas tank is practically full, and the road ahead is completely safe. But then, for a reason that no police investigator, no forensic expert, and no psychologist has ever been able to explain, you stop the car. You don't just stop. You leave the engine running. You open the doors, step out into the freezing, pitch-black night, and you walk away. You walk directly into a dense, terrifyingly cold mountain forest in the middle of a snowstorm. You leave behind your warm jackets. You walk for miles in the freezing dark until you find an abandoned cabin. And here is the most chilling part of all. Months later, when the police finally find your body inside that cabin, the autopsy shows that you died of extreme starvation. You slowly starved to death over many weeks, despite the fact that the cabin you were in was completely stocked with enough food to feed a family for an entire year. You chose to starve, or something outside in the dark made you choose. Welcome to the horrifying true story of the Yuba County Five. A case so bizarre, so completely devoid of human logic, that the FBI unofficially named it the American Dyatlov Pass. To understand the profound tragedy and utter confusion of this case, we have to travel back to the night of February 24th, 1978. In the small town of Yuba City, California, lived a group of 5 inseparable friends. Their names were Ted Weir, Jack Madruga, Bill Sterling, Jack Hewitt, and Gary Mathias. They were young men aged between 24 and 32, but they shared something unique. With the exception of Gary, all of them had mild intellectual disabilities or psychiatric conditions. Because of this, they lived with their parents.
Finally, I was starving.
They were gentle, trusting, and deeply reliant on routine. Their families lovingly called them the boys. And on this specific Friday night, the boys were doing what they loved most. They drove Jack Madruga's 1969 Mercury Montego to a neighboring town to watch a college basketball game. They were in high spirits. The next morning, they were scheduled to play in a basketball tournament of their own, representing their local rehabilitation center. They had their uniforms laid out on their beds at home. They had every reason in the world to return safely. At 10 p.m., the game ended. They stopped at a local market, bought some snacks, Hostess cherry pies, a few sodas, and some candy bars and got back into the car for the simple 50-mile drive south to Yuba City. It was a straight highway, a route they knew well, but they never made it home. When morning came and the boys hadn't returned, their parents panicked. This was entirely out of character. These were men who would call home if they were going to be 5 minutes late. By that afternoon, the police were involved. Days turned into a week. A massive search operation was launched. And finally, on February 28th, a park ranger found something on a remote, unpaved logging road high up in the Plumas National Forest. It was Jack Madruga's Mercury Montego, but the location made absolutely no sense. This dirt road was 70 miles in the exact opposite direction of their home. It went deep into the treacherous, snow-covered Sierra Nevada mountains. Why would they drive up a dark mountain road in the middle of winter? When investigators examined the car, the mystery only deepened. The car was abandoned, sitting in a small snowdrift, but it wasn't stuck. 5 men could have easily pushed it out. In fact, the keys were missing, but when the police hot-wired the car, the engine started instantly. The gas tank was a quarter full. The tires were fine. There was no damage, no mud on the undercarriage. Even stranger, inside the car, neatly folded on the seats, were the wrappers from the snacks they had bought. But the boys were gone. They had left a perfectly functioning, warm vehicle, locked the doors, and walked up the mountain road into a freezing wilderness, wearing nothing but light jackets and sneakers. The temperature that night was dropping to nearly -1 degree Celsius. What terrified them enough to abandon their only shelter? As the police searched the area, a strange and unsettling witness came forward. A 55-year-old man named Joseph Shons. Shons told police that on the exact night the boys disappeared, he had driven up that same mountain road and gotten his own car stuck in the snow. While trying to dig his car out, he suffered a mild heart attack. Unable to walk, he sat in his freezing car, fading in and out of consciousness. Around midnight, Shons claimed he saw 2 sets of headlights approaching. He saw a car park behind him and then a pickup truck. He dragged himself out of his car and yelled for help. He said he saw a group of men and a woman holding a baby standing in the headlights. But when he screamed for help, the lights instantly went out. The figures stopped talking. Total dead silence descended on the forest. Shons crawled back into his car, terrified. Hours later, he saw flashlights moving through the trees. Again, he called for help. And again, the flashlights were instantly turned off. Whoever was out there in the dark did not want to be found. Were these figures the boys? And if so, who was the woman with the baby? Or did the boys witness something they weren't supposed to see, forcing them to flee into the woods? Due to massive snowstorms, the physical search had to be called off. The families endured 4 agonizing months of silence. It wasn't until June, when the mountain snow finally melted, that a group of motorcyclists made a gruesome discovery. 19 miles away from where the car was abandoned, sitting completely isolated in the deep forest, was a U.S. Forest Service trailer cabin. The front window was shattered. When investigators stepped inside the dark, damp cabin, they found a body lying on a bed, wrapped tightly in 8 thick blankets. It was Ted Weir, but the condition of his body sent shock waves through the forensic team. Ted was 5 feet 11 inches tall and normally weighed 200 pounds. When they found him, his body weighed just 73 pounds. He had completely starved to death. His beard growth indicated he had been alive inside that cabin for up to 13 weeks after he disappeared. But here is the impossible paradox, the terrifying detail that keeps investigators awake at night. Right next to the bed where Ted starved was an open locker. Inside that locker were sea rations, cans of fruit, soup, and meat. Enough food to feed all 5 men for an entire year. They had opened exactly 1 can of food and then stopped. Not only that, there was a heavy winter coat untouched. There were forestry matches and wood, but no fire had been started. Why? Why would a man lie in a freezing bed for 3 months, slowly dying of hunger, when a year's supply of food was sitting less than an arm's length away? Did his cognitive disability prevent him from understanding how to use a can opener? Or was there a much darker reason? Was he hiding under those blankets because someone or something was sitting in the cabin with him, watching him die? The horror was far from over. Searching the woods around the cabin, the police found the remains of 3 more of the boys. Jack Madruga and Bill Sterling were found about 11 miles from the car. Their remains were heavily scavenged by animals. Jack Hewitt's remains were found a few miles closer to the cabin. His father recognized him only by his backbone and a pair of jeans. All 3 had died of hypothermia shortly after leaving the car. But Gary Mathias, the 5th member of the group and the only one without a cognitive disability, but rather a history of severe schizophrenia, Gary was never found. His shoes were found inside the cabin, sitting neatly next to Ted's bed. But Gary himself completely vanished off the face of the earth. To this day, the Yuba County Five remains one of the most chilling, logic-defying mysteries in American history. Did they take a wrong turn and simply panic in the snow? If so, why didn't they stay in the warm car? Why did they walk 19 miles uphill in a blizzard? And the most haunting question of all, why did Ted Weir choose to starve to death in a room full of food? Was Gary Mathias trying to lead them to safety? Or did a sudden schizophrenic episode lead his best friends to their doom? Or perhaps Joseph Shawns was right.
So glad we could all make it.
Maybe there were other people in those
We should do this
dark
more often.
woods that
Definitely.
night.
Let's not wait so long.
People who made sure the boys never made it home. If you were trapped in that dark cabin, staring at the food, but too terrified to move from your bed, what would you do? Let me know your theory in the comments. And remember, the darkest mysteries aren't found in fiction. They are found right here on the Verdict Files.
The truth awaits in the dark. True story.